I graduated in 1999. This was fall of 99. And I started working with IBM. IBM was really... Yeah, IBM Bangalore. IBM Bangalore had started their office only in 98. It used to be Tata IBM. By the time I joined, it became IBM India. And I was among the first few who joined. And it was a fun time. And, you know, there was one office for IBM in Airport Road, Golden Enclave. I started working there. I only worked for 2 months in the Bangalore office. I guess I was a troublemaker, so they pulled me out of the training and sent me to the US to work on a project called AT&T. That AT&T project was about learning what they were doing and bringing it back here. So I was one of the guinea pigs who was being tested out whether we could work it out or not. And it actually turned out it was a very successful gig. And in 4 or 5 months, I came back, I got the Best Employee Award, and by then I had figured out I wanted to go to study. I resigned and left, but actually IBM ended up bagging the project, the AT&T multi-year contract, which is $1 billion. And they actually ended up setting the entire Prestige Meridian to, I think, run that team. So all my friends are still there running. So it was a cool gig at the beginning. You know, if you ask me, you know, what was that, you know, there's always some value that you don't see when you do some things like that. I think I thank IBM so much for that, is that I kind of took away 3 things. One, you know, coming out of the post-liberalization world, I was one of the poster childs of learning to grow out of the mess where, like, you know, my parents were making still $100 a month or less. And here I am getting $1,000 a month at the beginning of 99, right? Or beginning of 2000. What became very clear was when you actually start a company like IBM by Watson Jr., Watson Sr., 100 years back, the effect of it could trickle down to someone 100 years later in India. That was really powerful to understand. The second thing was working with IBM at that level and being put into a project so early on, and you know, it seemed like I was working on some mainframe projects and whatnot, so people thought my life is done, blah, blah. You know, in retrospect, you realize it was the best thing to happen, because I was able to study the history of computers, like where did the computers come from, what type of systems did IBM build, and where is it going, right? You get a historical perspective, which most people who graduate today are worried about, oh, what programming language I'm going to learn, which company did I join. Doesn't matter. You don't know where, you know, as Steve Jobs says, you don't know where the dots are going to connect you to. So that happened. And the third piece of that was, I call it the IBM Education Fund. So the money that I made there helped me actually get, you know, even send my applications. I come from not so a very rich background or anything. My parents were lower middle class, so I didn't even have the money to send my applications. So IBM Education Fund was what helped me get my application sent. So it was all in all, it was a great 8 months to 9 month stint that helped me kind of like project to the next stage.
And then what happened next?
I went to do my graduate school studies, and I went to Arizona State because I met a professor, one of the most geniuses. He, you know, his name is Professor Hui. He's an authority in switching and networking. He did his master's, BS, master's, PhD all in less than 5 years in MIT. So I met this guy when I was in US working for IBM. He said, you know what, I'm starting a company. Also, you might want to learn that and join me for your graduate studies. He was at Rutgers at the time, so when I went there, he was also moving to Arizona State. So I followed him. And he's a very famous professor in networking and ATM switching. So I joined him in Arizona State, did my master's and PhD. While doing that, there was a lot of things that happened. One of the things is I saw how he was trying to start a company, and that kind of is where my mind was, and it helped me realize what works, what doesn't. I took my master's concept and presented that in the first entrepreneurship competition held by Intel at ASU, and I won the money, $10,000. So now here, 2003, 2004, I have $10,000. I had a networking concept that I'd pitched for. I didn't know what to do with it. I was trying to figure out how to start a company with $10,000. During that period, while continuing to work on my PhD, I've met a friend with whom I started some idea of like, starting a company. The thought process at that point was simply this, that 2005, 2006, what we had figured out was there's going to be content, right? And content is going to be delivered to all types of wireless devices. We didn't know how it's going to look like. We thought it was going to be TV that's going to have an IP connection wirelessly. And all of this video and audio and text would be delivered to the TV type devices, right? So it used to be called convergence market. So we knew there's wireless and there's content, it's going to be delivered. And I had won the $10,000 with the concept of wireless networking. And I realized I cannot go start a wireless networking company because the infrastructure play was way too hard. So we wanted to just work on the idea of delivering content to these devices that are all going to be wireless and going to be digitized content delivery. So we call it Generation Wireless. It was a thought of engaging the content publishers to Generation Wireless. And it started 2006, 2007. I graduated by then, and we started with the concept of RSS reader on the web. For lack of any other idea, we said we'll take all the content in the form of feeds and aggregate them and deliver on the browser. It took 2-3 years. I made a lot of mistakes in business partnerships. I worked as a CTO of the company, and my partner and I tried to work it out. It became the best social RSS reader. We even competed with Google Reader, came after that. But soon I realized that model is not going to work because the whole idea of RSS aggregators really doesn't work. I mean, even Flipboard, that matter, doesn't work. The reason for that is simple, is because you cannot be a media company in front of other media companies. Like, what if you realize that the story that you're making right now, somebody else who is aggregating takes it and aggregates it with some other story from your competitor and is going to put it together and advertise against that? How do you feel, right? Exactly the point, right? That's exactly what you cannot have an aggregator model in front of other media companies. Either you are the media company or you are going to help media companies deliver the best engagement as a technology company, right? You cannot be a middleman aggregator. That doesn't work. So that's what we recognize with that RSS aggregator concept or a Google Reader type thing. It doesn't work. And painfully, I'd learned that the partnership wasn't working. So that was my school of hard knocks, where I learned some painful things. Coming out of India and after PhD 3 years, I have no money left. I'm negative in credit cards. It wasn't the prettiest time, and my dad was going through brain surgery, and it was a mess. Those are the moments where you still think that you can make a company happen. It's just crazy. I don't know what went through me. I just said, no, this is going to happen. We'll continue. And I took the concepts and the learning and completely started a new company. That's the current Gen Y, Generation Wireless. The thoughts were the same, that we knew that the engagement of content is going to happen on wireless devices, right? How we started the first version, which kind of gave us all the ideas, but as serendipity happens, Apple released the device in 2009, 2000. In 2008, they released iPhone and especially iTunes Store with it, and they said you can make apps. Think of this, 2005, 2006, we were thinking there will be devices. We thought it was going to be this TV type device, but Apple comes out in 2008, 2009 out of nowhere, and the devices are things that we had imagined in our minds. And we just started to realize, I realized maybe it took me time to learn, but the opportunity still exists. It's the same concept. If you love something, you continue to work on it and it'll happen. That's exactly what happened in 2009. And I figured out that what we had learned about aggregating content and delivering it on the browser, if we took the same concept and delivered it on the devices, we would win. So 2010 January comes along. I started a new company with a new co-founder, Raju, and we put out a new concept called iSites. It was a Gen Y product. iSites was like taking content from your websites and creating a quick app. It's a cookie cutter app we had created. Like literally you could take your story feeds and put it into our system, aggregate all of them in the cloud, and we've already pre-built an app for your story, and you can go submit to the App Store. Right. When we launched it in Jan of 2010, literally we published 400 apps in like 3 days. We got into trouble because of that, and rightfully so, because we learned that App Store is not necessarily a redo of mobile websites. That was a very valuable lesson to learn. Again, the concept was right. We wanted to help publishers and content owners engage with wireless, Generation Wireless, but the lesson was, okay, it's not going to happen by taking what you already have as mobile websites and kind of repackaging and hope it's going to work. That's where Apple literally helped us learn a very valuable lesson. What they helped us learn was, what is a mobile website is not an app. That's not what mobile devices is for. And that learning, and we raised $1 million for this concept of putting out cookie cutter apps from Inventors Capital. We raised money from about $1 million with Kanwal Reiki leading the round in June, July of 2010. And that's when we also realized that's not going to really work, but the concept is good. Where do we go with the next stage? And we figured out that we had to work with more brands, right? So we started to work with brands which are large media houses and marketing departments. And over 8-10 months, we worked on some concepts of what exists today, and it became clear what it's going to be. And that's the point I had met Nexus Venture Capital, Jishnu, and he'd been talking to me for a year during that year. And the way Nexus works is they're looking to create the next innovative company. They don't want you to make 1x increment. They are looking for companies that can do 10x, 100x improvement in the product and create a new category. And that's what we were headed towards. And that brought Jishnu on the board, and they funded us $4 million as lead, and Inventors also participated in that. And that was about October of 2011, which closed the round, and that's when I actually had talked to your story in early 2012. 2009 is when that happened. I was being offered a job in Google, and Google recruiter was calling me up and like, PJ, why don't you want to join us? And I literally remember July of 2009, where I'd just come back from India after my dad's brain surgery, and I did not know if he's going to survive it or not. I had no money. I had credit cards all like blanked out. But I don't know. It's one of those moments where I think I can attribute it to one thing. I also, after my master's, I had gotten a job again in IBM, and after PhD, they wanted me to work at Watson Research. I think I can attribute it to one thing. I always ask the same question to myself, like when I wake up, am I going to do something that's going to make me happy, or my parents and family and friends? And I think growing up in India, I'd recognized one important thing. We all work towards, we're a more society-driven sort of culture, where it's important to feel like, okay, my parents are happy, my friends are happy. But I don't think I ever had that in me. And I always ask myself the question, if I were to work at IBM or Google or any other company, is it fun? Is it really making me happy? Am I doing what I really feel good about every day? And it doesn't feel like a job. I don't want to be in a job. I actually like skiing black diamonds, so I want to be doing the same thing. I want to do something where I wake up and it doesn't feel like work, so you want to get to it like first thing. I think that's what actually compelled me to continue, because I knew what I'm doing was fun.
Sure.
And I mean, when you're having fun, and you know what you said about the credit card and all of those issues, yes, it was painful, but if you ask me on a basis of whether it made me scared, no, because it was the challenge, right? Like when you ski down a big hill, which is Black Diamond Hill, the reason you go into those real steep things is not because it's going to be challenging, and you go because of it.
Yep.
Right? So it actually is what I look forward to. And when you wake up, the challenges is what makes me happy. So I think that's what I followed my intuition in my heart, I guess. Well, they literally thought I'm a lost soul. And I think my dad unfortunately still thinks that, or thought that, he passed away 2 years back, unfortunately. He's not here to see this, but he never understood what we were doing. That's one of the sad parts, is as much as startups has become an important growth factor in India, and many people are jumping into it, and I encourage more people to jump into it, there's still a social sort of conundrum. To give you an example, we hired one of the first engineers here even before Ved came in. I won't name the guy. He got so much pressure from his parents, he just left in 15 days because his parents thought, like, oh, you're not working for Yahoo, you're not working for Google. Think of yourself, right? People probably question you, well, why didn't you get an engineering degree and go work in some company? People don't realize people have value in their passionate work. For you, storytelling is a very compelling art, right? You enjoy it. In fact, you should be looking to make it even better, right? And people need to value that more. Right. And I kept telling that to my parents, to answer your question, that, look, I don't go ask you guys to start a company. You do what you are passionate about, which is to stick to the societal norms of getting married, having kids, and whatnot. It's not wrong. It's that's what they grew up with, and that's their passion or compelling point. That's not mine. So it was hard to educate them on it. I think Kanwal Reiki has a better way of saying this. I kept telling them, they didn't understand, but I think Kanwal's story tells the answer to this question. You can tell people I'm smart, but they won't believe you. The only way is to show them you're smart is actually by doing it. Yeah. So the only way to do was to actually continue what you were doing, and when you win, they will say, oh wow, oh look at that guy, blah blah blah. You know what, I don't care. I'm doing it for my own self and I'm happy about it. And I think that's what every person who wants to start a company or be an entrepreneur here in India, I think needs to understand. And I think they are better than me. I'm pretty sure every company that's been started here has gone through the same sort of pain and more painful stories than I have. And that's what you need to enjoy. It's not a hardship, it's actually overcoming obstacles. You're like running obstacle race and you want to do it fastest. It's been a phenomenal story and growth. As much as you ramp slowly, as people say, and it takes off, it feels good. That's how it feels. And it's not only the business that's kind of taking off. The reason the business is taking off is because there is a transition that's happening in the industry. In the industry we have played, the vision that we had is actually playing out. And kind of, if you don't mind, I can give you the vision of what actually the story after we raised the funding, that vision that we believed in and raised the funding, actually starting to play. What is that vision and what is that story? We realized content publishing as an industry and content marketing as an industry was going through a transition. And the transition is they're used to reaching their audience using print and web. Right? But with mobile devices, whether it be a smartphone, whether it be a tablet-sized device, or whether it be Google TV, or it could even be Google Glass for that matter, right? And there could be other types of devices, you don't know. They're all mobile in our minds, right? These content publishers realize that the content that they're producing and the story you're telling is going to be consumed on these devices. And how is it going to look like? And how are you going to tell your story? And what we figured out, and the vision was that they need to tell the story in a live and engaging format, right? But the problem we saw in the marketplace was that the desktop or the web publishing system that existed to reach these devices, to reach print or web, were not built for mobile devices. They were trying to extrapolate what they had and hope it'll work. Like take the desktop publishing solution, like PDF files. The magazine publishers, they still take their 30-day-old package and put it out on Zinni or Magster. Are you kidding me? My grandma wouldn't download that. It's a 1 gigabyte file. You can quote me on this. It's ridiculous. These publishers are publishing ebooks. Like that's 1 gigabyte file. Who on earth wants to read that? I want to know what's happening right now, right today. And that's the whole point of this mobile device, right? The device has Twitter speed contextualization, which is real time and context of where you are, combined with a completely new interface. It's not an interface where, like, you know, your kids will be making fun of ourselves, like, oh, my parents did this, right? And think of like what's going to be in the future, right? It's going to be this, which is naturally what humans are used to, consuming content. And you cannot take a PDF file that you created using desktop publishing and hope that's going to work. Neither will a mobile website, which is slightly done better, shaped and sized, is going to work, because it's not pinch and zoom experience, nor an experience of the same commoditized content being read, right? So through search. What is the key point is that desktop and web publishing systems were not built for mobile, right? But then what is it that's going to work, right? And what we figured out was something had to be purposely built for mobile. And it would have three key things. One is a way to tell a story in a very engaging format with your brand. Part two of that is you should be able to revise these package of content in real time. Like you put out an app in the store, you should be able to revise it, because how many times have you had to tell a story and maybe make an addition or update to the story? Or maybe you wanted to change a category and say, you know what, we're going to cover all these special stories of this for a week, right? You don't want to go to a programmer and say, hey, remake my app, I'm going to resubmit, right? You want to be able to revise it in real time. And the third key value is that you should be able to do 1 and 2 once in the cloud and be able to deliver to all devices. You don't want to turn yourself from storytelling to an IT company which is producing iOS app, Android app. Why do you care? Do you? No, right? So the point is, all you care about is to reach your audience with the highest engagement. Right? That's the key focus. And that's a system that had to be built for mobile. And that's what we did at GenWi. We built a platform that content publishers can create live and engaging applications using what we call a cloud-based mobile content management system. Right? And what does it offer a content publisher? From a product perspective and value perspective, they get to design and create, they get the flexibility to create and design a package of content that's highly engaging and highly customized look and feel. And they can also revise it in real time. Right? And the third thing is they can universally reach all mobile devices. Now, from a business perspective, right, for content publishers or marketers, what is the selling point? Unique selling point, as I term it, as value, right? Is just clearly one thing. You have to reduce the cost of production while increasing the cost, the value of production, right? And the key is you need to be able to tell a story in the more engaging format on mobile, which lets you do so, and do it with lower cost of production and highest value. And by doing all of this in the cloud, the way GenWi has created a cloud publishing category, we help you do that. Is to reduce your cost completely, and while keeping the value of that production very high. That's a business value we bring to the table. When you bring that both product value that I explained and the business value, it creates a very compelling case for the publishers. Now, the third part of the compelling case for publishers is their users. They're looking for a new experience. They're not looking for the same print 30-day-old packages, nor are they looking for mobile websites. They're looking for a live, engaging experience. And they know, publishers know that they need to have something new. And that's where GenWi comes in. We have created a platform to create those live publications with taking advantage of the mobile devices value of like live delivery, live content in real time, context of the location, and the tactile format. And deliver. So those three things, the product value and the business value, and the vision of what users will engage with makes it the only platform to use currently in the marketplace to go. As when we started out, as I said, we started out working on cookie cutter apps. With that, we almost had like 41,000 publishers actually signed up and create apps, out of which almost 1,800 of them actually paid us in one or the other way. Sure. And out of them, almost 90% of them were small publishers, but I would say 95% of them were small publishers, but the remaining 5% is what we started to focus on. And we realized that's first whom we should build a product for. And we have grown with them enormously in the last year. To put it in quantified numbers, we have grown 400% year over year in terms of customer growth with that model last year. So there are two parts to that question, right? One is about the business growth, and the other one is the product growth, right? So the business growth, let me address that first. If you notice, the content publishing industry by itself, when I say content publishing, I want to clear that there are two parts to it that we focus on: digital media and digital marketing. Digital media obviously is music, event, artists, and publications with magazines or more than magazines, the small promotional magazine type things. There are hundreds and thousands of them, even at the larger level, in the top cream of the cream publishers. We obviously are going to grow with them because that's where we started. But business-wise, we are seeing another opportunity which we think we're going to grow much faster, that we saw in the last year, was in the digital marketing space. We realized that the marketing departments in most of the large enterprises strangely also have the same problem. They used to print these marketing brochures. Like, how many times have you gotten American Express small book to buy a credit card, right? In US, you get these thick booklets, right? And who's going to read that? I mean, how many times have you even opened those things, right? You throw it out. Yeah. But for marketers, that's like, with mobile, they've got a great opportunity. You have a device that you're carrying always with you 24/7. How many times could they reach you in an engaging format? How many times could they tell a story? You know, in sales these days, sales is not about trying to sell you something, but to compel you to understand the story of what they've built, that you actually have an affinity for, right? That's what they need to focus on, and we're recognizing that the marketing departments, they also have content marketing departments, and they go out with a lot of these publications in their own way. And that market is starting to grow for us. And the way we're growing there is, you know, all the salespeople in these large enterprises carry thick folders of documents, like, you know, and they carry like catalogs of stuff to show us products, or they bring in their website, which is very clunky to search. I mean, you know, they'll open their website and go to Google to search for the site or the page. How awkward is that for a salesperson, right? And to keep up with what's happening latest and greatest, their marketing department has to create something, go through IT department for a year, and then come, oh, here's something, and it's already outdated. For those guys, they need content and information delivered and live to the salesperson or to their customers, and in a very engaging format. And that is what we are seeing as a very large market. I mean, as you can imagine, the Fortune 5,000 companies all have this need. Yeah. I mean, if we could win 10% of them at the price we do, I think we would, there's $1 billion revenue company to create. And we believe strongly that the incumbents have continued to work on product lines that address a certain need, but have not created this new category where live publications can be created from a cloud publishing platform.
Sure. You were also telling me about
the product growth, right? So I talked about the business, and the product growth is, you know, currently we have put out these live publications, right? You may ask, what is a live publication, right? Let me just expand a little bit on that. I've been repeatedly saying you have to have engaging formats of storytelling. What is that? Let's take an example, right? Let's take the example of you telling the story about me, right? And you, let's suppose, have an app for your story, right? Why would I open that app if you were to put it out as an app or a site daily? or minute by minute. It's not because I cannot go search or stuff, but it is because it's a story that gives me an experience of your story's brand and provides a compelling way for me to see what's the latest and the greatest for today. And if I like it, I want to go dig deeper down, right? Let's take the example of story. You tell me a story. You could put out today a video and on a web, text and video. But think and imagine how an app could have presented the same thing. You could have put, a story of PJ's diaries, right? And that could have photo galleries. That could have a video that you created, and personal story, which could dig deep into has a timeline of stuff, and has all the related links to the stories of GenWi and other things. And you may have like another place where it says GenWi story and has all the investor photos. Think of like, when you open up the app, you just see a cool screenshot of GenWi, has one big tight headline, and you click on it, it goes to this deep down story. But on mobile phone, you open up, you see the story on a minute, first thing you open up, but you recognize that there's a deeper story, you get engaged, you say, you know what, I'm gonna go home tonight and read it. You sit back, open up your iPad and read it. It's almost like watching TV. It's like your favorite channel. So it almost becomes like app surfing.
Right.
And that's the engagement you need to create, right? That's the first part of the product growth. That's what we did and have created a value in the past year. Now, growing forward, we see even better things coming out. And that's where we want to grow the product too, is not only do you want this to be engaging to your end users, but you want to make it kind of living, breathing experience. Is that the app learns that, oh, PJ wants to read more on the funding stories, right? As opposed to maybe the product stories or whatnot. Or he wants to know all his competitors' stories. So it kind of adapts the stories every minute that you publish to be in that format. So it's a Twitter speed, magazine-like storytelling with a personalized approach of sending the story that the person wants.
Sure.
So that's where we want to grow. I think that is like, it sounds futuristic, but I think that's where the industry will head. We started out in Palo Alto in California, and 90% of our product engineers are in US. And very strangely, what happened was our CTO, Rahul Patel, he was a senior vice president at Oracle. He ran Web Center for 6 years. He's a very celebrated guy in the content in the enterprise software industry. And when we started to grow the team, he said, I know a person who's a great product engineer, Ved Singh. And I said, yeah, I know he's in India. I said, can we bring him here? And he said, he may not, but then something occurred, right? What we recognized was, growing up in India, one of the things I had learned while working at IBM or seeing many of the companies is there's a very service-driven approach in India to start companies. There's never an opportunity for an engineer to jump right into the product development at the stage we do in Silicon Valley at the beginning. And it occurred to me that there is talent, it's just that the opportunity is lacking, right? And we said, you know what, if we can find the best talent here, or in London, or in US, doesn't matter. We want a small, agile, mean team, but doesn't matter if 5 of them sit in Bangalore or 2 in London and another 25 in Palo Alto. We wanted to get the best talent. And it so happened that Rahul had worked with Ved for 10, 11 years in Oracle, and he said, you know what, he's the best product engineer, we got to bring him in and find more talent. And at the same time, we had been working, I won't give out the name of this guy, but he's the most brilliant designer I've ever seen or met.
He's in him from others who can.
No, he's in Bangalore. Yes, I don't want him to be poached. So I'll be honest about that. I've worked with chief designer from Condé Nast. He's equivalent to that guy, and he's in Bangalore. The reason is, strangely, his story is, he worked with his dad in print shop, right, cutting up print magazine and laying out. And the guy also worked at AOL. Combine those 2 skill sets, bring that Twitter speed magazine thing, he's the best designer you've got. You don't find that sort of combination of talent anywhere. it's not about where you were born at that point. It's like, where do you find this guy, right? So when you saw that kind of talent come out from, you know, Ved and the designer, we said, you know what? We may have only 5 best talented people. We want to have an office there. So that's how we ended up having, and you know, with the kind of communication tools we have had, we have no problem communicating. Actually, 75% of our team in US is in Palo Alto. Actually, remaining 20% is in New York. And a couple of our designers are, you know, are spread out in the US and London and Bangalore. And now we have added an engineering, sort of product engineering team members here in the Bangalore office. So let me answer that in a little bit long-term sort of perspective, right? I think there's a deep penetration that's happening already with mobile phones here in India. The part that I think it's compelling is because they may be more feature phones today, but all the Nokia feature phones that, you know, people have bought, what's the next step? It's going to be smartphones, right? It's going to be tablets, even if it's cheaper devices. So I see there's going to be a larger market of users on these devices than on PCs, as you may imagine, right? But the habits of users in spending habits and the publisher's mentality to reach them with a different format may take a while, may take 2, 3, 4 years. And it doesn't mean that the market doesn't exist. It's on a longer horizon. So maybe we'll take baby steps. Like, you know, we worked with 9X Music channel, and we have an app out. They broadcast all over the world with this app. It's an amazing app. You should check out. It's a 5-star rated app in the App Store. They have 4 channels that they live broadcast for free. People can download and use it and see the Indian channels being broadcast. It's a great step for us. And we think there is value in bringing that kind of apps to the Indian market itself in the long run. Maybe not today, but the market needs to mature a little bit more. But hey, we've got a foothold. Sure. If you get 2 more big media houses, why not?
Sure.
So hopefully that answers your question.
Yep.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, I'll tell you. As I said, people ask me what, you know, last time when Sriram was interviewing me when we got the funding from Nexus, he asked me, why did you take the money? And I answered several things that, you know, they can help us expand and whatnot. But I think one of the key values that they've added, which is like, you know, priceless, is that they are looking for companies and entrepreneurs who can create new categories, new companies that in the long term will change the way we live. And they're not looking to make a 1x return, 2x return, 3x return. I mean, of course, when you change the way you live and make a big impact in the world, obviously you're going to return more than hundreds and hundreds of x's. So that mentality helps you actually make a play for bigger game, right? And that value what Nexus has brought has been amazing, and they're on the same page with me on that, and it's been nothing less, you know, I love working with him and Jishnu. And I mean, to give you Jishnu's, I mean, this may seem like I'm bragging for the heck of it. It's not. You know, I'll tell you the story of, he was having his first child, and I had his, you know, we raised another round of funding from very famous investors last summer, and I wanted to call him and ask him some questions. 2 hours before his baby was born, and I'm talking to him on the phone about the deal. That's a type of relationship and commitment, and he kind of becomes your partner in crime in some ways, right? So it's fun. It's really fun to work. And the part of the story that I think I kind of missed about the investors is, you know, with their help and also how we've grown, we brought in 2 more investors last summer. It was not that we needed the money. We took very little money, but the kind of name and their own reputation of what they see the market was very valuable for us.
Who are these guys?
And one of them is Floodgate.
Okay.
It's Mike Maples, who was the first investor in Twitter.
Right.
And he was also the investor in Dig.com, the very first investor, and he was also an investor in NG Moco. He himself was an entrepreneur, a great product marketing guy, amazingly cool guy to work with on a daily basis. Besides him, we are very fortunate to have partners who work at Elevation Partners, such as Roger McNamee, who is a rock star in the industry of tech investments. He invested in Adobe in 1980s, to Electronic Arts, to ADP, to Sybase, he's the largest investor in Facebook today, and Yelp. You should look them up. We got him and Bono, the U2 singer, to invest small round. So it was a $2 million raise, but you know what? It was a great validation for us. We want to change the way people consume content and help content publishers engage with Generation Wireless.
Sure.
And success is that we have helped them engage and change the way people consume content on these devices.
Sure.
And that could look like every user opening up 10 favorite apps or channels, or as we call live publications, for 5 minutes on a daily basis, would be a great win for us. I think there are some fabulous entrepreneurs here too. I mean, their stories have, I've read about that, and I feel they've put in more effort than I have, to be honest. I think one key thing, if I were to say, is don't get bogged down by the dogma of what your society or culture is going to tell you. I'll quote Kanwal Rekhi again. I think, as he said, entrepreneurs are 0.1% of the people who have always the idea of something new, and you're never going to have friends or family support you on your ideas, because they're the 99.9%. Remember that. If you can stick to your thoughts and believe, I think you're gonna win.
Sure.
Do not ever give up on it. There are two, I think there are, it's actually a very an important question from a dynamics of Indian economics, as much as it is about entrepreneurship and how exciting it is to work at certain places versus certain places. From an economic perspective, and I'm kind of taking away myself from the whole company, startup, and entrepreneurial perspective. From an economic perspective, the growth is needed in India. Think of a person whose parents or whose family did not make more than $100 a year, getting an opportunity to make even $100 a month. That's a huge, huge win. So when Google Ops or Infosys is offering them a job, it's a great way to grow, and the trickle-down effect of capitalism works. So that's needed for India. I don't think we should wish away that. That's the engine that's actually feeding into the Indian market, right? And that brings a lot of enthusiasm into people who have seen that and have taken and one of them is me, who saw that for 8 months. It gave me a lot of value. But what I would tell them is, don't get stuck with it. See what you can be. If you were to go join even, let's say, a company which is selling better shoes here, like and you realize Bata, which is a Czechoslovakian company, I don't know if you know that it was a company started by someone else, right? That you could be selling shoes today as a part of a bigger company, but you could start your own, Flipkart for shoes, for God's sake, right? There is going to be a market. It might be more painful, but you can. So we should see both sides of it, is that you get the rise in your economic base by working at these places, but don't get stuck. That shows you what you can be on your own. So get out there and join companies that could help you show how to start a company or start your own.